All right. Hello and welcome to the show. And today we are going to talk about mental safety behaviors. And specifically, we're going to talk about rumination. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Cotty, and I am the founder of Restored Minds and the creator of the AAA Response. And on this episode, I really want to dive in and continue our series on mental safety behaviors because I really believe that they're one of the biggest roadblocks to people's recovery, simply because most people don't know about them and don't realize when they're doing them. So before we dive into the show, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing, as well as leaving a comment and a review on Google Podcast or Apple iTunes or whatever the platform that you use, because it just helps the algorithm of the show, and we appreciate your support. And it helps us know what we can do better as well, or if there's episodes or ideas that you want us to talk about, or you want me to talk about, just share that in the comments and be happy to consider it as a future episode. So with rumination, let's first talk about what it is. Rumination is the root word being, I think, rumen, or and essentially it's something that hooved animals do when they're digesting grass and food. So like a cow will eat grass and swallow it into their stomach and then throw it back up and then keep chewing it to really get the most nutritious benefit from the grass, right? I know that's a great visual to start your day, but the idea is important because to ruminate, right, or rumination, is the idea essentially of just chewing on a thought, right? Over and over, an idea, right? To ruminate about something, think of it like that. Like you're just throwing it up and chewing on it, throwing it up and chewing on it, because essentially that's what you're doing. So when you're ruminating about a specific fear, it's like you're just thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. Now, I want to point out that one of the most common misconceptions about rumination is that, so when people, wrestle with things like OCD and anxiety, a lot of times the thoughts that are happening, right, are the initial what if thoughts or the intrusive thoughts, and then they'll ruminate or do mental behaviors like mental review, analyzing, all this stuff. And they mistake that those are all part of the obsession, right? And so they don't think they're doing any compulsive behaviors because they don't realize that rumination is actually a behavior. It's actually a response or a reaction that you're engaging in response to the initial thought. So you might have had the initial what if thought, the initial intrusive thought, and then all the thinking and analyzing you did after that is still happening in the realm of thought, but you're doing it in response. Therefore, it is a compulsive behavior. And that realization is so important, because if you think that this is all just, I just keep obsessing about this. So a lot of people use the word obsessing as a verb, like something they do, right? I'm obsessing about this. And that's not accurate, right? The obsession is the initial intrusive thought, right? That's what the obsession is, right? And so the initial intrusive thought, again, that usually happens automatically. The rumination or the other mental behaviors are what you do after. And that distinction is everything, because if you're engaging in rumination without realizing it, it's just like saying you're engaging in washing your hands without realizing it, right? If you're doing it unconsciously, it doesn't matter. You're still doing it, right? And because you're doing it, it's going to feed that wheel and feed the loop. And as long as it's feeding the loop, then that is what's going to make the loop continue. It's going to produce more intrusive thoughts. It's going to keep activating the nervous system. And, as long as that's happening, then that's going to, again, feed the wheel and keep you stuck. So mental safety behaviors, like I said, are one of the things that keep most people stuck in the wheel without realizing that they're doing them. And that's why they're so tricky, is because most people are just unaware that they're even engaging in mental behaviors, like rumination. So, and that's what keeps them stuck. So that's what the point of this series is to really kind of go, okay, let's understand specific mental safety behaviors so that you can understand if you're doing this, right, then more importantly, take actions to stop. So how do we stop rumination? That's obviously the next question. And telling yourself to stop ruminating isn't effective, in my opinion. At least in my experience, because generally the thoughts are so powerful, right? Or the energy behind the thought is so powerful that it's almost like magnetic, you know? And so telling yourself to stop ruminating, you really need to create more distance first. And so one of the best things to do, again, if you find yourself lost in your head a lot, is things like, meditation, right? To just help create some distance. And then ultimately using, frameworks like the AAA response to make sure you're habitually engaging in a solution-focused action so that you make sure you're not doing things like rumination. So the trick about the AAA response is that instead of telling you not to do a problematic behavior like rumination, we're focusing on what to do. And by doing that, you can't do the problematic behavior, right? So we're shifting our attention away from the problematic behavior and moving towards a solution. That's why it's so effective, in my opinion. And so with rumination, telling yourself not to ruminate doesn't work very well. And again, if you can do that, then that's great. But the first step is even noticing when you're ruminating. So that's the first step. And then number two is, again, creating that space through something like meditation, where you're really able to create that subject-object awareness space that we talk about. And, if you're looking for additional resources, you should check out the notes in the show, because we have a free guide you could check out. You can also check out our 2-day intensive workshop to get started, or again, look at becoming a member of Taking Back Control in our 12-week program, where we actually walk you through all this stuff, very in depth. And so, and those are just some starting point options for you. But when it comes to, again, making sure that you're not ruminating, like it's not just rumination, it's all mental safety behaviors. So the whole point of this series is just to introduce certain ones that are very common that people do without realizing it. And once you realize that you're doing it, though, you can take corrective action to stop doing it. Now, again, I want to be clear too, if you've been ruminating for a long time and it's something that you engage in, almost unconsciously, it's going to take some time to shift out of that behavior pattern. And that's, but again, you can do it. So I just really want to stress that point too. It's like, don't expect that you can go from ruminating all day to not ruminating at all. That's a pretty significant jump. If you've been practicing a behavior for a long time, it's going to take a little bit of time to change that behavioral pattern. So just want to make sure I stress that too. So, but yeah, with that said, that's what rumination is. And again, it's one of the most common behaviors that I see people engage in. And on top of that, it's something that you can break out of, especially if you use things like the AAA response. The problem is that most people just aren't aware that they're even engaging in it. So the first step is just this is why this episode exists, right? Just to see, are you doing this? And if you are doing this, let's start taking corrective action to make sure we're implementing new skills and behavior patterns into your life that are ultimately not going to feed this wheel and keep you stuck in the loop. So with that said, hope you guys have a great day as always. And I'm going to continue this series here. So we're going to be talking about a few different other safety behaviors or mental safety behaviors as we move forward. And then we will be shifting into another series after that. So thank you guys for your time. Again, resources down in the notes. Please help us out by liking and subscribing. And I wish you guys a great day. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for watching that video. And so if you're struggling with OCD and anxiety, I just wanted to let you know that we have a free training for you over at Restored Minds, where you can start learning how to use our AAA response to really break out of that loop and ultimately take back control of your life. And all you need to do to access is just click the little link below and you'll be taken to a page where you can register today. Thank you so much.